All right. Thank you for sitting with me this morning.
Happy to do it.
We'll start easy, work our way up to hard. How about that?
Okay.
How long have you lived in Salem?
I lived in Salem all my life. My wife and I moved out for a few years for her work, and when I went to college, I wasn't here. But I grew up in Salem, and I spent my entire life here.
At what point in your life here in Salem did you realize that I could be mayor of the town that I grew up in, that I live in?
Boy, that's a great question. It was not part of my long-term agenda or like my vision for where I was going to be professionally in my life.
Yeah.
I greatly enjoyed working in government and politics growing up through school. I thought that's what I wanted to do professionally for a while. And I think like a lot of people that think about that work, I envisioned myself working in Congress or at the White House or the State House in Boston, and really didn't register local government as a way to be involved in that professionally, for sure. And then I had the chance to come be the chief of staff for our previous mayor, for Kim Driscoll, and worked in that job for 10 years. I loved it. And I think as she made the decision about where she was going to be able to next contribute to our community and our Commonwealth, I started thinking about all the work that was unfinished, the things that I wanted to continue advancing here, and thought, I sure know the projects and the people and what's going on in the city. I love it deeply. I couldn't imagine doing this work anywhere else. So just a chance to make a positive difference in my hometown. I thought, well, why not me? I could do this. I could keep building on that foundation. And I never served in public office at this level before, and just was excited about the opportunity to step into the role.
Was that public service thing, is that something that came from your family, your parents? Was that something they were involved in or interested in, or was it just a...
Probably. My parents are both public educators. So my mom started as a librarian at the Saltonstall School here in Salem, and then eventually went to work at North Shore Community College, where she retired as the director of library services for North Shore. And my dad was a wrestling coach at Salem High School, and then a football coach in Marblehead High School, and an elementary school gym teacher in Marblehead. So they're both public educators. So I think that appreciation for doing something in the public space was there with me from a very young age.
Yeah. It seems, while daunting, being a mayor of a town of 47,000 people, seems manageable, right? It's a city, it's 47,000 people. How bad could it be? But then you dump 1 million visitors every year on top of that.
Yeah.
How much, and in talking to other mayors, since this is the first time you've been in a position like this, how much harder does that part of being the mayor of Salem make your job?
I think Salem is an incredibly unique place to be in a role like this, in many different roles. Certainly, Salem is different than other places, but mayor is especially different. I've had the opportunity to get to know other mayors across the country through nationwide organizations that are conferences of mayors and associations of that nature, and there's all kinds of different structures of government. Some places the mayor just cuts ribbons and is very ceremonial. In other places, like here in Salem, they have a strong mayor form of government, so the mayor is actually the chief executive of the city. But to be the chief executive of a city of 45,000, 46,000 people, that also, as you say, welcomes millions of visitors every year, is definitely unique. We have many of the challenges and opportunities that much larger cities have than our size, both physically and in terms of geography at 8 square miles, but also population wise. We have the oldest continuously operating art museum in the country, a major state university, the largest hospital north of Boston, the tourism economy, the national park site, the power plant, all these incredible things that make Salem Salem, but also mean that for a city that is realistically on the smaller side when it comes to cities, we have a lot of major challenges and major, I think, opportunities that other bigger places usually get to see.
I mean, when you just rattle off that short list, all of, obviously having lived here for a while, I know they're all there. But I don't know if you noticed, I laughed when you said 8 square miles, because it's insane that much gets packed into such a tiny space.
Yeah. There's a lot happening in a smaller city, and I love it. I could not imagine, like I said, doing this work anywhere else. It makes it unique. It certainly makes every day different on the job, but it's it's a lot, and I think that Salem rightly demands a lot from their public servants, and I appreciate that, and I hope that I'm living up to that standard for people.
What is other? So take out the
Yeah.
million plus people coming every year. What's the second biggest challenge that you have to face as a mayor of a tightly packed city like this?
I think there's two challenges, and it's hard to elevate one over the other. So I'll just do both briefly.
Okay.
The first is, we're a coastal community, so I think the climate crisis right now is being felt especially by places like Salem. And typically in Salem, that's taking the form of storm surge and inundation on the coast and flooding.
Yeah.
But we've also seen inland flooding in like the Rosie's Pond area. And I think really alarmingly in the last year, wildfires and brush fires because of drought conditions. So I want Salem to be safe, affordable, and forward-looking. And when I think about what it means to be safe, the traditional way of thinking about safety is, public safety, fire, police services, first responders, things of that nature, and that's certainly there. Traffic and road safety, that's certainly there. But I put resilience in that same category because we are not a safe community if people have to flee their homes or we have to close schools because of fires. I think it's a real risk, and it's a great threat that we alone can't change the course of as a city, but we can prepare ourselves for it, and we can lessen our own contributions to it.
Yeah.
And I think the second area of challenge is affordability of living just generally. And again, it's another thing where it's a much bigger challenge than one city can tackle on its own, but we still have a responsibility to think about how are we trying to make it less costly to buy or rent a home in Salem? How are we helping people pay their utility bills and keep a little money on their pocket and put food on their table? Food security is a significant challenge right now.
I kind of asked this half jokingly, but half seriously at the same time. Is there like a text chat between Massachusetts mayors, Salem? I'm thinking like folks on the Cape, these places that have similar challenges to what Salem has. Like, do you talk to other mayors to kind of say, hey, how are you managing? How are you handling? How can we help?
Yeah, for sure. It's not really kind of a text chat, but there's an organization called the Massachusetts Municipal Association, and through them there's a Mass Mayors Association, and the mayors stay in touch with one another through that. But even beyond the mayors, there's 351 cities and towns, and so we are communicating with town administrators and town managers and boards of selectmen, as well as city councilors and mayors around the state whenever there's a common challenge. So if we're looking at thinking about a certain approach to zoning, we'll ask the MMA or some other association like that, can you help us find other cities or towns that have struggled with this and how they solved it? Early on when I took office, I put together a coalition called the Massachusetts Coastal Communities Alliance, just basically an informal group of the cities and towns along the coast in Massachusetts. We meet every other month on Zoom and just talk about, funding opportunities, regulatory challenges, permitting challenges, places where we can have peer learning or we can hear from outside experts and scientists about resilience challenges as coastal communities. So that kind of group therapy is really helpful when you're in a position like this.
And the support from surrounding communities and I guess from the state when it comes Halloween time and the law enforcement and public safety assistance that comes in, is that something that's solicited by the city, or does the chief of police say, hey, can you guys help us out? Or is it just a mutual understanding at this point? I've always wondered how that works exactly.
Yeah, when it comes to Halloween, it's an event it's a public safety event first and foremost, but it's one that we know is coming. So we start planning for it. November 1st, we start having our after action discussions. And so there is an actual, public safety plan for our October operations. And it kind of lays out very detailed how we are going to approach everything from road closures to interactions with federal and state law enforcement to make sure people are safe. And so it's just really a matter of updating that when circumstances change, if we need to use a new tool or a new approach, and then just putting it into practice each year and trying to build on what worked and change what didn't. Yeah. But there's longstanding partnerships. The plan for October in Salem was first developed under previous administrations, and so our work has really just been trying to build on that in that playbook.
Yeah. All right. So the second question I ask everyone is going to be a little obvious in your case, so I'm going to adjust it a little bit.
Okay.
Because the question is, if you were walking down the street and somebody saw you, how would they know you? Obviously, being the mayor of Salem, that's probably how most people know you.
Yeah.
So what's that secondary thing that you're involved in that you do that people say, oh, that's the guy from...
Boy, that's a great question. So, I mean, when I was the chief of staff, I was very and happily anonymous, and it's certainly changed now that I'm mayor. It's been an interesting evolution, seeing people recognize me more when I was accustomed to being very much behind the scenes.
Yeah.
I also have an identical twin brother, so sometimes I tell people you don't know which one you're talking to.
Oh, get out of here! I didn't know that.
He doesn't live in Salem anymore. They moved out. They still live in Massachusetts.
What a bummer! Can you convince him to move back? Because that would be hilarious.
He actually was in town when I was first elected at the special election in 2023, and it confused a lot of people. They thought I was just at every polling place, and I was, it was a forced
I almost
multiplier.
want to cut this out of the interview so it's still a mystery. That's so good.
But I think, outside of my being recognized as being the mayor, I probably am recognized by being my parents' father, my kid's father.
Yeah.
My kids are 15 and 11, and they're public school students here in Salem. And most of my life outside of my work is related to shuttling them around to different activities or attending different concerts or plays and things in support of them and all that they do. And so I'm proud to be a Salem public school parent. We have a great community of public school families in Salem, and I think that if folks see me about town, chances are, if I'm not doing something in my work capacity, I'm doing something in my parental capacity.
How has being like you talk about going from that anonymous person to a public figure, how has that affected your family and your kids moving through their life here in Salem?
I hope it hasn't affected them too much. I mean, they're certainly, recognizable as the mayor's kids, but they're more importantly recognizable as themselves. They have their own strong identities and their own great friend groups. My wife, Kristen, was on the school committee for 4 years before I was elected mayor, so we had a little bit of that kind of public-facing life as well in the family, so they knew what that entailed. But certainly in my work as the chief of staff and having worked on campaigns for so long, they also knew what elections meant and what campaigns meant and, what that life is like. So they're incredibly resilient kids, and they have very strong senses of themselves and their identities. And I hope that they're proud that I'm the mayor. I know they've told me that in the past, but it's certainly a strange life, and I recognize that. So I try to make it less strange whenever I can.
Not to put you on the spot, or if you even think about this, but, in how your life as the mayor of Salem has gone and how your family has adjusted to it, does that kind of, if it's going well, does that kind of encourage you to maybe think about moving on to a larger position in the state? Or does it seem like this, having someone who's gone from not even thinking about being in a position like this to being in this position, do you feel like this is enough, or you're like, oh, maybe I can do this?
I think having the support and encouragement of my family is the most important thing in making my decision to, first of all, run for this job in the special election in 2023, and then also to run for re-election this last year in 2025. I wouldn't have done it if my family wasn't supportive of me making that decision 100%. And the same would be true for any other decisions I made professionally. If I was going to run for something else, like I wouldn't. The first thing I would consider is whether or not my family was supportive and it was good for them. But I don't really think I can't imagine myself in any other job. Like this was a dream position for me to be able to have this chance. And I think especially after you've been in a role where you're the chief executive, you're able to make decisions and pull people together and try to forge consensus or at least majority support around ideas to shape your hometown for the better. After that, I mean, I look at other options for serving in public life, and man, I think being a mayor is where it's at. It's a great opportunity to make a positive difference.
I can personally attest to what you've said about the secondary kind of role as being most known role. Excuse me, not a secondary role, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
On election day in 2023, where you'd think that you would be at the polling stations, running around, handshaking. You were at your daughter's track meet. because I was at that same track meet.
Yes.
And I took
Yeah.
a picture of you sitting all by yourself in the stands, watching you. I'm not even watching, waiting for your kid to run because those track meets
Yeah,
are
it takes
interminable.
forever.
So, and I think we even said to you, like, what are you doing here? And you're like, what am I going to do? Like, what else is there for me to do? The election's going to go the way it's going to go. So whatever, you know.
Yeah, I remember that. That was quite a thing. It's I'll always put family first. Joe O'Keefe, who was the Ward 7 city councilor for a very long time, state fire marshal, he always used to say family first. So, if there's a choice between something that, I have to do professionally and something I have to do for my family, I'm going to put my family first. But that was also in a moment where, like I said, there's not much you can do. You can stop by another polling place and say hi to some more people. In a context like that, where that was the only election on the ballot, there probably weren't many people coming out to vote who hadn't decided how they felt about the different candidates.
True.
So I wasn't going to sway anybody at the last minute as they went in to vote. And, I wanted to be there for my kid and to see them run and to wait to see them run.
And then you could just send your twin brother. out
Yeah,
to
well, my
the
brother was out and
polling
about doing
booth.
things anyway, just confusing people. So
What's hobby number one for you?
hobby number one.
If you got to dial down from mayor, it's November
Yeah.
2nd. You've got to take a load off.
So when I'm by myself, I like to play piano. I've been playing since I was 4. I'm not great at it, but I enjoy it because it makes me just feel so much relief. I get relaxed and I just kind of just disconnect from everything. So that's probably my favorite thing to do solo. When I'm with my friends or my kids or my family and we've got free time, I play Dungeons and Dragons. I'm a 100%
right.
a nerd. So we like to play all kinds of different board games, but I played D&D when I was a kid. Fell off my radar for a while when I was a younger adult, and then I rediscovered it through reconnections with some of my high school friends. And then when I had kids, I was like, "Oh, it's a great opportunity to get my own game going." So it's a great way to kind of escape as well.
That's fun. That's a thing that I've never. I'm of that age bracket that D&D was, a thing when I was a kid. It just never locked in for me. I don't know why, but. Last question. It's a big one considering your role. What are you doing to make Salem a better place?
We talked a lot about the challenges that we're facing in terms of affordability and the climate crisis. And I think that work, making Salem a place that's safer and more affordable and forward-looking is a critical part of that work. But I think the other aspects of it are related to much more aspirational about the future and what we hold as a city. We're entering into 2026. It's our 400th anniversary. Not many cities in the United States reached that milestone, and we're among the first. We're using it as an opportunity to be reflective, not just about those past over 400 years, including our indigenous history, but also where we're going from there. So we started a Signature Parks initiative under the previous mayor, Mayor Driscoll, where we made some historic investments in many of our most beloved public spaces. And I think that work continues in 2026. The Common, Winter Island, Forest River Park, Palmer Cove, and Salem Willows. Those are all, I think, investments in a better future for generations to follow us. But the other transformational aspects of what we're trying to do to make a better Salem for the future are through our work with our schools. I'm incredibly proud to be the chair of the Salem School Committee as part of my job as being the mayor. So not only am I a public school parent, but I have the chance to be involved in making this school system shine for future kids to be able to benefit from. We want our kids to succeed and thrive, whether they choose college or career or both. And Salem Public Schools is really hitting it out of the park in that respect. They've had huge achievement gains over the last few years. We have graduation rates up, but dropout rates are down, attendance is stronger than ever, and we've closed the gap from the pre-pandemic years. So that work is so important to me. In 2026, we're going to have a special election again on a ballot question about funding our new high school, which will be a really transformative moment for our community. Salem High School was built 50 years ago. The current building is just it's just not safe. It's not healthy. It's not conducive to the kinds of ways we're teaching students today, whether it's career and technical education or academics. It was built for twice as many students as we have now in the high school, just because of changing demographics. It's incredibly energy inefficient. It's responsible for 30% of the city's electrical bill. It's
Oh my God.
for $1 million. So, we have the chance to leverage a couple $100 million in state funding to create a new high school that is safer, healthier, better, that is net zero, that really it provides the opportunity for new athletic fields up there for our students to play on, and to make all kinds of improvements. But it's a kind of thing that you have to ask the voters to pay for, because it exceeds the limits of Proposition 2.5. So we have to ask voters to vote yes. We'll get a couple $100 million from the state in a state grant, and then the city also puts up a couple $100 million through that vote, and we pay off the bond over 30 years or 25 years. And hopefully in 2030, we cut the ribbon and open the doors on a new high school that will be a building that will be, as I hope, as excellent as our kids are and they deserve, and is really a flagship facility for our school, for our school community, and also for our community as a whole.
Let's talk about the 400 plus celebrations for a minute, because that's a really unique position that you're in. Not a lot of mayors get to celebrate the 400th anniversary of their town, 400 plus specifically. At what point did you realize, oh, this is happening during my term? And do you feel a little, pressure is probably not the right word, but that you want to put your stamp on it a little bit, because your name's going to be on a lot of plaques and signs and stuff, right? So, like, how did you approach when you realized that was happening, when you did the math, whatever it is? Did you get to like pick a committee, and or are you just kind of like along for the ride for something like that?
So I had the benefit of having been the chief of staff for the previous mayor. I think when we saw this coming down the road, Mayor Driscoll set up a special fund. We put aside some money every year in the city budget to be able to afford a full-time person, and to pay for the events that we want to have to commemorate the 400th anniversary, or the quadricentennial. They say you only turn 400 once, so make sure you make the most of it, and we're going to do that.
Yeah.
And so we've been tracking 2026 for a very long time.
Yep.
And then clearly, when Mayor Driscoll made the decision to run for lieutenant governor, it became more apparent that most likely the next mayor, not a guarantee, but most likely the next mayor was going to be the mayor in the 400th year. The 2025 election was still to come, but there was a good chance. I was feeling like I've got more than 2 years in me in this job, so I'm probably going to run in 2025, and that would put me in the position of being the mayor during the quadricentennial. It also aligns with the 250th anniversary of 1776. Yeah. So Revolution 250 and Mass 250, the 250th anniversary of the United States. It's really a big moment. The national parks are involved. So we have been working pretty closely with the National Park Service and Essex Heritage to plan for an aligned Salem 400 Rev 250 commemorative year. We started that planning back in the Driscoll administration with a working group that grew over time. And we hired the Salem 400 coordinator, Jenny Cherrill, who's kind of quarterbacking the activities of both the larger working group and a few smaller committees that have been working around things like special events and communications and community engagement. Yeah. We have some, like I said, signature investments that are ways we see as paying forward our debt to future generations. But we also have a lot of special events coming up for the 400th that we're excited to celebrate with the community. So salem400.org if people want to find out more.
Yeah. It kind of helped inspire me to get this project back off the ground again, thanks to John Andrews for bringing it
Excellent.
up.
Yeah. We I think one of the ways that we approached the 400th was in 2016, we started something called Imagine Salem, which was it was a program through the planning department to engage in basically a community visioning together. Not really a master plan for the city, but really a vision for what kind of Salem we wanted to be in 10 years when we reached 2026. And you can still go to imaginesalem.org and see the visioning documents and see the community engagement that happened. And I don't think it would surprise people. We talked a lot about having a livable community that was welcoming to everybody. The place that I think defines who we are today. We have a very unique history as a city, and it has shaped and informed our values as who we are today. My family came to Salem in 1978. They had nothing to do with 1692, but I still feel that obligation of history to kind of be thoughtful about how we're living our values today, informed by our history.
What's it like to have your name on plaques?
I haven't really thought about it much, the plaque isn't really as important as what you're
It's not that it's important, but it's got to be interesting to be out just walking around the streets of the town that you grew up in.
Yeah.
And that's going to happen throughout the 400 plus. Like things are going to go up.
Yeah, that's true. It's interesting that I think the first time it registered for me that my name is on something that might endure for quite some time was this past year in 2025. We unveiled the memorial to the people we lost in this community to COVID. So it's down at Palmer Cove Park. It's a very tasteful stone with a plaque on it. And we had a ceremony with members of the Board of Health and Salem Hospital and community members there. And my name was on it. And we had a poem on there written by J.D. Scrimgeour, who's the first poet laureate of Salem. And that was a really powerful moment for me. And it wasn't because my name was on it, but it was because when I was the chief of staff, I just felt like the work we were doing to get through that pandemic together, I was so proud to be part of it. It was such a stressful time. But it was looking at that plaque and just thinking like, this is a chance to, memorialize this, to pay tribute to the people we lost. I think everybody knows somebody who was, if not gravely ill, passed away. In my own family, we lost people. And to have that there as a way to kind of reflect on that history and to share our commitment that we should be cognizant that if we're in a position of any kind of public service, we're doing what we can to prevent it from happening again.
Yeah. Are your folks still with us?
They are, yeah.
Are they proud of you?
They are very proud of me.
Yeah.
My dad cuts out every newspaper article and letter to the editor, even the bad ones, and saves them. And they're over the moon. They were huge helps during the campaign. They've been great for helping to take care of their grandkids as well. But they're a big measure of support in my life, and love them very much.
That's awesome. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Bear, for your time. I do appreciate it.
Yeah, happy to do it.
Unless I've been talking to your twin brother this whole time.
You'll never know.
Outstanding.